what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem.
Let's talk about quantitative easing in April 2022 and how that will affect the stock market.
I told you guys the most important indicator of all time ever in the history of mankind is quantitative easing, and that is the government printing money. We've been printing money since 2008. Kudos to Obama when he took over from George W. Bush, and the market was not doing well. Now, I think this time for 2020, they printed too much money, and now they have to finally taper or pull back. But now, when the money is not flowing as freely, now we're going to see what startups are really going to be doing really well. Kudos to Giant Henry. I think Loop will do very well. We're all invested in that. But the companies that you guys that have historically have been able to get good trades off with, like NEO, you won't be able to do that in 2022 post-April. Like, the quality companies are going to rise to the top, and you probably need to put one traditional bank on your list. The only one that I like is probably JP Morgan, because I like Jamie Dimon. On the banking side, if inflation gets insanely crazy. I saw somebody in the comments put that Apple would drop because of quantitative easing and inflation. They'll slide down something. Like my 18-month target, write this down, for Apple is 277.97. That's what it'll go to. Facebook in 3 years will go to 466.40, and 291.47 for Facebook is a good entry price. But now, like, for those of you who don't know, to make it simple, kudos to our first-time listeners, quantitative easing is like when Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa was on steroids. So when everybody was hitting 82 home runs and 75 home runs, and everybody was passing up King Griffey because he was natural, we're now going to start seeing these companies that had incredible gains, and even on the venture and angel side, when people are doing 30 and 40 deals in a quarter, that is going to slow down, and the market is going to pull back. I think the S&P should probably do maybe 17.3% growth by end of year. But inflation and quantitative easing is going to kill all the terrible companies and the crypto projects that have no actual value. For those of you who remember the ICOs a few years ago, this will set up a lot of Web3 projects, DAOs, and peer-to-peer payment system projects that are not good. That is going to cause them to fall. Hit the like button. Love y'all.
There you have it.
Shawty, I'm not getting on your nerves no more this month. I had my one look Kanye thing. The grease jacket was tight.
Leather jacket Ian has arrived.
Man, shout out to Kanye.
Dude, like you said in 2021, I gotta send your bottles too, though. I had COVID. I'm gonna send you though. Moet, got you.
Rose,
please.
Rose, my bad, man. I'm chilling. My bad. True.
Let's speaking of COVID, let's talk about COVID for a minute. This is interesting. I don't know if you remember, but before we started Market Mondays, we did a few YouTube lives with Ian. You remember that, Ian?
Yeah, it was legendary. That set the tone, built the demand for the show.
That was when you had the computers in the background.
Yeah.
So during one of those YouTube lives, I said, I think that COVID is going to be around until 2022. At that time, it was a very controversial thing to say.
Yeah, we agree.
Everybody killed me. They was like, it's only going to be around for a couple months. What are you talking about? 2022, that's 2 years from now. You bugging like, well, here we are. 2022. So the reason why I'm saying that is because I've been doing some research, and we're talking about the endemic. So they're predicting, some scientists are predicting that by spring of 2022, by summer, spring of 2022, the pandemic, as we know, is pretty much going to be over. COVID's not going to be over. It's always going to be around, but it's going to be more, it's getting weaker and weaker. So it's going to be more of like a seasonal flu, where it flares up in the fall and winter, goes away summer and spring, but it's still, it's not as deadly as it was at one point, and it's going to be something that we can live with,
like influenza.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I say that to say the endemic, obviously, that will probably have a positive effect on the economy, the psyche of everything, and not have to play stop and go with stopping stuff and starting stuff and different things of that nature. So this is something that is still affecting business. So what's your thoughts on it? Are you up on the endemic? Who
stated that it was going to end?
Yeah, I don't know if it has to end because it can still be a
Not
pandemic
end.
as long as we have control.
When I say end,
Yeah.
they predict that if enough people get vaccinated,
Yeah.
enough herd immunity
That's
is
what we're
built,
headed.
that it's going to be more of a flu type situation
Yeah.
where it's never going to end,
Yeah.
but it's going to be something that is not anywhere near what it is now
Right.
or what it has been for the last 2 years.
They've been saying that for the last year.
I think we're headed toward that though, right? Like I feel like a lot of the population has had it, right? And then there's a population who have been vaccinated or had the booster shot and got it. So as we get more people having it, more people building up their immune systems, more people being able to fight it, I think it does become the flu. And that's the thing, like the flu, it could be is a pandemic, right? It's just that we know how to treat the flu. And I feel like COVID will eventually get there. Will it happen by spring? I don't know.
Like if you look at like the charts, because it started in they're looking at South Africa, right?
Right.
So the charts for people that's catching it is going up crazy, but the mortalities is like very, very low compared to the Delta, where it was kind of the mortalities were still high as well. So it's getting weaker. Whereas as far as people are still catching it, it's more contagious, but it's nowhere near the mortality. So this is why they're saying like the flu, right? Because you can still die from the flu, but nobody's really worried about dying from the flu.
They should. No, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but yeah, I mean,
who have you ever known that has died from the flu?
If you look at the CDC,
well, who have you ever known?
Well, I don't know. But I'm saying there's other. If you look at the statistics from the people who die from the flu, it's like the leading cause of disease or something like that. Outside of heart.
Have you known?
I don't know anybody who's died. No, I don't. I don't. But that doesn't mean that statistically it's not happening.
Exactly.
Same thing with this situation right now. More people are catching it. Yes, more people are surviving, but that also may have into how we're treating it, right? In the early stages, we had, and I'm sure scientists, they will tell you, like, they had no idea how to treat this, right? And that's why the mortality rate was so high. As they became more familiar with what we're facing and how to treat it, the death toll came down. So, like I said, more people get it, more people build up their immune systems to fight it. Vaccinations obviously play a huge role in that. I guess this is like when they were trying to think of herd immunity, like we're getting closer to that stage.
But herd immunity and those initiatives only work if the virus does not continue to mutate. And we can talk about the flu-rona thing, the hybrid of it. But if technically, if you look back and study the Spanish flu, that strain never was eradicated. It just came to a point where it reached a standard deviation equilibrium.
Right, exactly.
So we'll get there with COVID, but to be gone by April or March, I don't know who wrote that one. They may have misquoted. From what I've been told, this probably won't stop until 2024. And then, I mean, the crazy part, the same thing that caused part of the reason why Trump ended up getting out of office is probably going to be the same reason why Biden has to leave office, because he has, 700,000 more deaths on his hand in comparison to Trump because of the virus. So, I mean, trust me, the Democrats would be incredibly happy if this slowed down by March or April, because they're going to get their ass kicked in the midterms this year. But I don't see it slowing down to 2024. I really don't. And if I can be just very honest, they didn't know how to treat it because it's hard to treat a lab-made virus. And then on top of that, I always tell you guys, depressions and deep recessions are tools and methodologies to transfer wealth from one class to another. And this is widening the wealth gap more than ever. Like I haven't talked to Dr. Claude Anderson. I'm trying to get in contact with him, see if he can confirm. But from the numbers I ran, this pandemic made the wealth gap so wide that Black people won't be able to close it.
We spoke to him. We spoke to his wife.
Mm-hmm.
We may have to text the brother and see if he confirms. I don't want to be salacious.
Yeah.
I'll speak to you off there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you was interested in that, but we spoke. Yeah, we speak. I'll talk to you after the show. I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up midterm elections. That's like a good homework assignment, because if you look at historically how the S&P has performed during midterm elections, it's a telltale sign. So I need everybody, if you haven't done the research on that, study and research midterm elections S&P performance. I'll give you a homework assignment. Sponsored by Ian.
That's funny. And I'll tell you, to follow up with that, and we was talking, we was in a group text earlier, and I said I wouldn't say it, but I'm gonna just keep it real. You guys shouldn't get out the market for anything unless we have a major geological event or ecological event. Going back into the question I asked before, when's the last time you guys seen fireflies, right? Like commercial fishing has damaged our oceans and lakes and riverways more than anything else. Like for those of you, let's say if you grew up in the 70s and 80s and you went to a lake, how many fish would you see in comparison to now? Our greatest threat is the damage that we've done to our planet. And the fossil fuel companies, of course, are trying to fight it. And this is why part of the reason why they hate Tesla so much. And you can lobby your way to it, but you can't argue that just on a normal day, you don't see as many bugs or insects or ants or anything as we did maybe 15 or 25 years prior. And if you start to plot out in Excel the same way you would with the stock market to understand how much nature and plant life has eroded, that will tell you when we will eventually have our big crash. But until then, you guys shouldn't get out. Like midterm elections, presidential elections, all in all, it doesn't matter.
Ian, what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda